Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to TESOL Virtual Conference Call IS Virtual Worlds for ELT panel. We're so excited that everyone is here. And my name is Jane, and I'll be serving as moderator to help answer the questions. In today's session, our panelists will be talking about different virtual worlds for English language teaching and learning. I am very pleased to introduce our presenters. Dr. Randall Sadler, Dr. Jeff Kuhn, Dr. Aaron Shorts, Vance Stevens, and I'm sorry, Laura Briggs, because of personal issues, won't be joining us today. Okay, we'll start with Dr. Randall Sadler, is the director of TESOL and ESL at University of Illinois. He teaches courses on CAL and teaching L2 reading and writing. His book include Virtual Worlds, Telecollaboration in Language Learning, Handbook of Informational Language Learning, and New Ways in Teaching with Games. Let's welcome Dr. Sadler. It's our honor to have you here.
Hands. How long would you like me to talk, given we started late? Mine is totally flexible because I'm just doing a show and tell.
Okay, 10 minutes, right?
Go for it.
Yeah,
okay.
We're good on time.
I'll 10 minutes or less. I'm starting my timer. So hopefully I have the ability to share screens. It looks like I do. As I mentioned in the emails, I thought I would just do a show and tell because I saw some other people had some awesome slides that covered information very well. Many of you are already familiar with this, but in case some are not, this is the virtual world called Second Life, which is historically one of the ones that's had the most users. Way back, it was going to be the future and amazing and huge. And then, of course, the popularity declined. But there are still a number of educators using it. And I think there are some reasons for that. Partially because this virtual world gives you the ability to build things pretty easily. In fact, everything you see in this virtual world, with a very few exceptions, has been built by users rather than the company. So here we are on a couple islands called Edunation. I own Edunation 3, and Heike, who I think I saw here in the audience, is the owner of Edunation 1, which is the one we're facing now. And both of these islands, not surprisingly, are focused on education. How can we use virtual worlds mostly for language learning? English in a lot of cases here, but we have teachers who are focused on French and German and Japanese and other languages as well. So how do we do that? Well, for me, my island is more tropical, you can see, because I redesigned it in winter and I felt cold. So what we've set up on the islands are a number of spaces. Some of these spaces are just for students and teachers or groups to meet. I also host on Edunation 3 a great group called Vertlantis, which has been in Second Life for a long time, and they focus on informal language learning. Groups get together regularly just to chat in whatever language they want to practice. Sometimes they're led by a native speaker of that language, sometimes by other learners of the language, but they just get together and they talk about different things in the language for naturalistic language practice, as natural as you can get in a virtual world, at least. Let's go to a couple other spots that I've used in here. So we're going to go up now to a spot that I built not too long ago called the Sky Gallery. So we're up here above Edunation at about 1,800 meters. And there's another user on Edunation who's really into art. And she wanted to have a place where we could do art exhibits. So I built this gallery, and we've had several exhibits in here already. This one is My Grease, My Cats, not kitchen grease, the country grease. And as you can see, it's photography and other artwork focused on, shockingly, Greece and cats. But up above And again, picture how you could use this for language learners. The discussion centered around art is fantastic. So if we go up to level 2, there's a French artist who's set up a display on this floor, which is really wonderful. Patrick Moya is his name. And he does these cool 3D art exhibits. His avatar, Moya, is in every one of them in some form or another, but he has his own island that's full of art too. But imagine again, bringing students in, discussing this art, maybe later creating their own art, which they can do in a virtual world like this. So let me go to one more floor and then we'll skip to some other stuff. So here, actually, let me see, there's level 3. I meant to go to level 4. I just put some more classic art on this floor. Honestly, because I created this with 4 floors and one of them was empty and I needed to fill it with some more art and some photography of mine taken in Japan. I won't claim it's great photography, but there it is. And if we go up to the 4th floor, again, more 3-dimensional sculpture and a spot for dance parties because, you know, you got to have dance parties. So there's a space that we've used and you can imagine the kind of assignments you could do with students in a space like that. Let me pop over to some other spaces here. Here's a spot actually that I created for a PhD student from Turkey that I was working with. She wanted a space where she could have groups of her students meet to practice language in different ways. Those of you who have used Second Life before, especially in the past, as you know, sometimes it's been a bit clunky in Second Life. If you want students to do things, the learning curve's a little high. They've changed some things relatively recently where they have now something called Second Life experiences that make things much more automatic, which is great for teaching. In the past, if I wanted students to put on a HUD, a heads-up display, I'd put it in a box. They would get the box. They'd take the box out of their inventory and open it, and they'd get a folder. Then they have to find the folder, and then they have to drag it on. What Second Life experiences allow you to do, though, is I'm going to walk through this box to get myself some HUDs. And when I do, I did not test this. Please work. Uh-oh, come on. There they are. Okay. Whoo. So it gives me on my screen some HUDs that I created for this student, because one of the challenges in virtual environments is how do you engage in some of the more nonverbal communication. So this gives them some nice emojis that can pop over their head and automatically disappear after just a bit. Other nonverbal communication like no or clapping, all that kind of jazz, right? So just ways that you can engage with students in different ways. And, you know, I like to create what I feel are beautiful spaces for the students because I think it makes the interaction more interesting. We also have onogenation, as some of you know, because you're limited how much stuff you can put out on an island. So we started using these really nice holodecks. I did not design the holodecks, but I built a lot of stuff to put in them. So we have access to well over 100 different scenes that you might use. And they would range from everything from, here's one that I like, if I can find it. Here's a boutique. If you're working with students in a virtual world, of course, they might always want to change their clothing, you know, do things that are more interesting. So I designed this boutique that students, still loading, that students would be able to go to, find some different clothes just by clicking on them. Up in the sky, I've got dressing rooms for men and women in case their avatar is shy. Again, some of that's still loading, so you don't see the images yet, but there's lots to choose from. And then, of course, if you need something else, I can just clear this one out and I can choose something else. So I have them sorted by categories because, you know, maybe you want your students to do something like practice the language they would use if they were in a restaurant. So here's a little diner And again, things are loading. It looks prettier once the posters are on the wall and everything, where they could practice something like this. So in a virtual world, for me, two of the strengths are that ability for students to go into new environments that you can't access so easily in a standard classroom, places for them to work on more informal learning, conversation, but also things like this, which I think are useful for simulations. You know, your ability to create spaces that duplicate diners and banks and airports and marketplaces in a way that you might not normally be able to do in a classroom. So that's 9 minutes for me. I'm going to stop a minute early because I know we've got a lot of people who have a lot to talk about, and I'll stop sharing.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sadler. This is really amazing, and the work you put into it and creating the virtual world in Second Life for students. I mean, they really needed a space.
Right.
Everything like Canvas and, you know, Blackboard, they're all teacher focused, content based, and virtual worlds is a space for learners to get together and work on something. And I think that's what they need. It's more student centered, and especially during this pandemic. I mean,
yeah. And anyone is welcome in on our islands, by the way. You know, any educator who wants a space, you're welcome to come and use it. Any of the resources, just come and have fun. I put my email in case people want to contact me about that.
Thank you so much. Okay, next, our next panelist is Dr. Jeff Kun. Dr. Jeff Kun works for the Office of Instructional Innovation in the Games Research and Immersive Design Lab at Ohio University. He delivers talks on game design, games and learning, and the need for games literacy in educators. He also spearheads the Ohio University esports program. Dr. Jeff Kun.
Hey everybody, so I'm going to share my screen here real quick. Can everybody see that?
Okay.
Hope
yes.
So. All right, cool. Yeah, so I want to kind of quickly hit two main areas today, just to kind of expand on this idea of virtual worlds and what that definition can mean. So taking a really kind of broad step back and thinking about really kind of the next 5 years or areas that we as a professional organization should really start to consider in terms of focusing our attention, opportunities for student development, teacher development, and those issues. And as the writer of the TESOL Games and Learning blog, these are just sort of the thoughts that have come into my attention that we can start working towards. And really, how would we think about video games just really the way Randall, combined your two names there, Randall. Randall demonstrated it as a space versus just a text, like a book or a film or something like that. But instead thinking about these are places where students can be actively involved in just gameplay. And so to really kind of start that, I wanted to highlight, as always, kind of the scope of video games. And I really like to encompass this by talking about Joe and Anthony Russo. Now, they directed Avengers Endgame. And so how do you move past, how do you follow up the biggest movie of all time? They're now directing the trailers for the game Fortnite. To kind of give you a sense of the biggest movie directors in the world are now working for arguably the biggest video game in the world. And that trends really well with what we see as video games as an industry. And it is the largest media industry. In 2019, it was a $112 billion US dollars industry compared to about 30 billion for music, about 40 billion for film, and about 52 billion for all the streaming media out there like Netflix and Disney Plus. And so it's this massive industry. But it still hasn't quite been widely represented inside of classroom practice across all of education in the way we see these more traditional medias are. And so how do we start incorporating that? And there are kind of two areas I wanted to focus on when we discuss this sort of thing. And the first one here is esports. And it seems like a strange place to start, but When we have events that are filling football stadiums around video games, we kind of have to start paying attention to it as educators and thinking about the growth of this industry and ways that this can translate into jobs and into opportunities for our students. And the reason I'd love to talk about esports is English is pretty much the de facto language of esports. If you want to compete, if you want to be involved in the industry at any national or international level, you have to have English. It's pretty much a requirement. And although we see a lot of linguistic diversity within esports, it's still appalling in terms of other representations of people and gender. And so with teachers starting to normalize this, bring it into parts of our classroom practice and discuss it, we can help kind of address some of those issues of bringing more people and more diverse backgrounds into the field. Because, what we're seeing is competition. And though a lot of people talk about esports as a competitive area, there's so much more to it than that we can think about. Currently it's about a $2 billion a year industry, and people expect this to grow into, $20 billion a year over the next few years. There's talk of having it in the Olympics as well. The League of Legends championship game every year is viewed more than the US Super Bowl or the NCAA basketball championship that we're watching right now. So globally, this is a massive industry, and it creates some interesting opportunities for language teachers and educators, because beyond just the competition that most people think about, there are opportunities for our students to be involved in broadcasting and journalism, event organizing, producing, managing, coaching, development. And all of these are opportunities that require English, that require our language to get involved with. And so, as we start to kind of think about, if you have students interested in this field, how do we start bringing opportunities for students to bring that interest into our classroom? It's just kind of an area that we can start thinking about as teachers and educators, because we're seeing the rise of the esports scholarship here in the United States is now about $15 million a year, where kids can get a scholarship to come to an American university and play esports. So, that kid who may not be the most motivated in the class, or the kid who wants to be an esports player, but she just doesn't know what to do. This can be a powerful motivator. There's ways that you can get into universities that you don't have to be, top tier professional level, but a good coach, a good manager, a good organizer. There are opportunities out there that we can, tailor our students towards. And so kind of one area that I'd like to discuss here is just ESP for esports. Are we going to start thinking about, as a professional organization, what would it mean to have English for specific purposes around video games and esports? So that's kind of one area to think about. And then the second area that I wanted to cover is leading into Vance's talk and Aaron's talk on EVO, the Minecraft MOOC. And that really is, again, just what Randall had mentioned earlier about video games as spaces. And how do we think about this beyond just a place where a student may interact with software? Now, the pandemic year of 2020 was exceptionally good to video games. It was one of the few bright spots in an otherwise bleak year. And we saw, according to Farkamanish in 2021, 55% of people picked up video games in 2020. And so we saw this huge growth in video game usage and play, because they became a social space when we could no longer socialize together. And so, thinking about this, one of the interesting parts that has been a challenge for video games and the classroom experience is so much of our educational constructs, around the classroom are really rooted in kind of an industrial age approach to teaching and learning, where information is scarce, the teacher has it, the book has it, and that limited access to information means that you have to come to class and there's that exchange of information. And media scholars have suggested that, we've even moved past the information age or the computer age, where thanks to Google and Wikipedia, information ubiquity and collecting information has never been easier. Media scholars say, actually, we're in what's called the experience age now, where what's really important is the ability for me to share and show my experiences with the world. And that experience age mindset is almost part and parcel with video game play, and really thinking about how we can create language opportunities. And so the other part of this that's interesting is so much of our professional development for educators is still strongly rooted in the industrial age format as well. We all go to a room together, we sit down, someone presents, and the audience listens and asks questions. But how do we even shift our teacher and professional development over to more experience age opportunities in the same way that like the EVO Minecraft MOOC has done, and move past a lot of these things, because now we see video games being very much interactive, things like Twitch, where I can watch someone play a video game and I can chat at them, they can chat back, we can communicate with one another during the act of gameplay. And these Twitch streamers have become minor celebrities in their own right. And so you see a much more interactive way of playing video games these days that we didn't see 10 years ago or 20 years ago. Even Congressperson Ocasio-Cortez and Congressperson Omar have been joining video game play. So this year they both got on the game Among Us, a huge popular social game, using Twitch to communicate with constituents and talk about issues that are important to them. So even seeing, politicians using these medium to get out and engage with people has been really interesting to watch. And how do we capture that when we talk about video games in the classroom? And this is widely identified within education. Henry Jenkins back in 2006 looked at what's called participatory culture and said, look, a strong participatory culture has these characteristics. And if we look at these characteristics, I think every teacher, we would all agree that this reflects a good classroom. This is what we all strive to do in a very meaningful classroom where students are engaged and empowered. And this is what a lot of the video game infrastructure is built upon as well. So when we talk about games, how do we talk about these spaces that they exist in? And really, that's been identified as well because they're called third places. This is something that researchers have talked about a lot. The classic book Bowling Alone, or Steinkuhler and Williams in 2006 with their looks at World of Warcraft, is they say, hey, a third place is where you gather beyond the workplace and home, right? So we've seen this kind of switch for a lot of people that have gone from, in not just the pandemic, but in general, a physical place where they socialize to a social space online. So we're seeing people using video games like Animal Crossing, Among Us, alongside of Twitch or other forms of communication to socialize and hang out. And so with that, there's a lot of communication and language that we can start to work towards and develop on with our students. Or even better, the argument I would make today is that we can use these places for professional development as teachers and educators. If we look at something like Fortnite, our students may love the game Fortnite, but it's so much more than just that. Students will get on Discord and communicate with one another, share their experiences with one another. They may watch the Fortnite World Cup, watch videos on YouTube, and of course, watch their favorite streamers like Ninja on Twitch. And the matrix language of these environments is almost predominantly English. And so, figuring out ways that our students can get involved in these spaces and understand the complex language use that happens in these spaces, I really think requires us as teachers to dive into these spaces as well. And so how do we create opportunities for that? And that's kind of really important, because as we see these changes in literacy, really mean changes in technology, we have to change our literacy. So what does it mean to be video game literate today is a really complex question. And the only way that we can really kind of understand that is by jumping in and practicing in these environments. And I think that's what's really important about the EVO Minecraft MOOC is if you look at the way it was structured, it seems really kind of complex because there's so much going on with EVO Minecraft MOOC. And it's like, wait, we have interactive spaces where we meet live, but then there's software that we have to use for different forms of communication. Then there's software that we use for video capture and sharing and promoting information. But this is pretty much par for the course for our students when they engage in these spaces. And so how do we as, TESOL, the professional organization, as researchers and as teachers, figure out ways that we can create these same environments for professional development? And so I think the EVO Minecraft MOOC is a great example of this. And, Randall's examples in Second Life are another one of these. And so I want to kick it over to Vance to kind of carry on this idea and talk about just how we can create these new spaces for teachers to practice the social constructs around video games.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Yes, yeah, I would really like to try out Fortnite in different video games and all. And you're mentioning about scholarships for esports. That's wonderful. We have, next is Vance Stevens. As co-founder and coordinator of Webheads in Action and Learning Together, Vance Stevens has produced over 500 podcasts since 2010. He has over 150 publications on students using computers to learn languages and teachers learning to teach using technology by engaging in communities of practice and in participatory cultures. He has been a coordinator of TESOL Call IS Electronic Village Online since 2003 and has co-moderated EVO Minecraft MOOC for the past 7 years. He was recently awarded the 2019 Call Research Conference Lifetime Achievement Award. Let's welcome Vance.
What are you trying to tell me? Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, I got it. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I was just thanking you for that great introduction, but you didn't need to hear that. I wrote it myself. What can you say? Well, anyway, okay. So I'm going to share my screen, my part of the slideshow here. Oh, got to move some people's pictures off and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so. Should be loading in. No, I hit share wrong. So I didn't hit present. I do that all the time. I hit share and not present. There we go. Those buttons are kind of similar. Okay, well, anyway, thank you for that great seg-in, Jeff. I'm supposed to talk about the front end of EVO Minecraft MOOC. And let's see if I can make things small here so I can see I can't see a timer. Let's see. Okay, I got to watch. Never mind. Old technology, but it works. Okay. All right. So, yeah, this is the front end, basically. This is where I use wikis to try to resolve complexity in my mind. And then I kind of put it on other people to sort of sort out what's in the wiki. But basically, this is the front end here. I'll just visit it here. So this is a missions for Minecraft, EVO, missions for evomc.pbworks.com. And there's also some shorteners to it. I think Aaron has one. Mine is minecraftmooc.org. But anyway, basically it's a page that changes bit by bit, but this right now it's got an introduction to our session right there, a little video there, and it's got a picture of all the moderators of EVO Minecraft MOOC. Aaron, Dawn, Jane, Maddie. We have family teams. We decided to have moderator teams because so many of the kids were joining Minecraft. There's Jeff and Kim Harrison and Laura Briggs, who had to miss today, and Mariana has Philip Smolchitz, I'm going to tell you a little bit about in a minute, and also son Domagoy, which I should also tell you about. Because when I visited them in Croatia, I visited them because we co-wrote an article together where Mariana interviewed her son Philip to find out why he became so fluent in English. And when I met him in Domagoj, I felt when I was talking to Domagoj that I was talking to a native speaker. And he was probably 9 years old at the time. And Philip told me that they would watch videos in Minecraft and in English, and they had no idea what they were saying, but they could sort of follow it. And he said the language just emerged, and they just got, and of course then they connected with other people around the world, their peers, and Philip set up a video channel, and just and they always worked in English, the lingua franca. He's in Croatia, so anyway, he had to work in English with other people. And Mircea Petrashku is one of our script gurus. Rose and Emmanuel, her son, my wife and I, under lockdown, we've gotten quite proficient in the game this year. And Maha, who's trying to get in, I'm not sure if she was sending us emails a moment ago, and then Dakota Redstone. So basically, all this information, if you go, most of the stuff at the top disappears when we start our session, and you come down here to find out basically what you can find on the sidebar. Here's the sidebar, is where that stays there all the time, no matter what changes here. So you can how to get Minecraft, how to get on our server, get into Discord. Yes, Jane, are you signaling me for something?
1 minute.
Yes. What's happening?
Last 10 minutes to Aaron. Sorry to interrupt.
Yes, I think I started talking about 3 minutes ago. Is that right? Did you want me to make a very short talk?
Make it very short, shorter, because we need to end at 10 o'clock because there's another session, and I'm sorry about that.
Okay, well, yeah, I really want to hear from Aaron.
We do have another MOOC, Minecraft.
Okay, let me just pile through the slides then. So, okay, so I'll go back to the slides, and if I can get out of that. Sorry about that. So back into the slides. Okay, so it began when Mariana wrote this article about with her son Philip, interviewing him. In the article, I did the literature search for it, and I encountered other people who were working with Minecraft MOOC, Dave Dodgson, for example, with Minecraft, and this guy Jeff, who was using it to create zombies so his students would have something to write about in their composition classes. And sorry, the share screen is on top of that. So, okay, so Jeff and I wrote an article, which I guess I won't talk about much here, but what I do like to do is put links in things so you can read that article. This is in 2017. By then, I didn't know anything about Minecraft when I started the session, and I learned a lot. I basically set it up so that I could learn. So my peers taught me, and I learned from them. And at that sidebar, we have archives of everything we have done, and it starts in 2015, that's when we began. This is an image, but if you go to the sidebar here, click there, all these are live. You can see our live events all these years. We've even archived the server at warp evo / whatever that is there. Okay, anyway, sorry, I can't see it because it's being covered up. EVO spawn, I can't remember. Anyway, you can read it on the screen. Probably read it on your screen. So I've created tutorial and help pages. There, you can link there to get the tutorial pages and the live events pages. In the live events pages, I recorded a lot of our events this time around. And one of the things that one of the videos I have was about map orientation skills. So this one shows how I triangulate I go to one place on the map and I find a map and I see that that's in that direction and this is north over there. So I go this way, but if I go over to another place, I can triangulate on the space where the treasure is. So that's one of the skills that Minecraft, I think, teaches for students. These basically, I enumerated them. It's very creative, it's gamified, It's game-based. Gamified means it has all this built-in incentive to keep playing. Game-based is where the teachers can modify it. I just explained from the example of Philip how networked it is, how it encourages communication, encourages research and reading, finding out more about Minecraft. So keeping that in mind, this is one of 13 video snippets I put into my EV Classics video, which I made. And it's online. I'm going to show you the next. Each of those 13 snippets have a reason that it was included, and those reasons relate to what is written there. And this is where you can get that. If you go to this wiki, it explains in detail why those snippets were chosen. There's a long version and a short version. The classics required a 10-minute version, but I actually made a longer version and cut it down. So there's a 20-minute version. So I think that's it.
Thank
Quick
you.
link,
Thank you, Vance.
and yeah, it's all on. Those are videos. You can hear the rest of my presentation all you want. Thank you.
Thank you, Vance. And please join us on Minecraft MOOC and
That
our
was the
Best of
front end.
EVO
Now we're gonna hear about the
Minecraft
back end.
tomorrow. Yes, Aaron is our also serving on our Call IS steering committee, and he is the person who came up with the idea of hosting our this virtual worlds. Let's welcome Aaron.
Yay, Aaron!
Hi, I'm
wake
trying
up.
to share my slides on. Can you hear me okay?
Yes,
You're
yes.
fine.
Okay, yeah, I'm trying to share my slides on a different computer, and it needs permission apparently.
Wait, I can give the rest of my presentation while he's doing that. No, I'm just kidding.
And I think I'm echoing because maybe Vance, you're still on.
Sorry. I'll unecho you.
So I hope you're enjoying the conference so far. I've been having a great week as both my Windows computer and my Mac decided to quit on me. So I'm not going to be logging into the game, but I am going to share with you some information. Am I still echoing for you guys?
You're doing fine.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to share some information about how to set up a Minecraft server, particularly how to do a Java server. And it says apparently my screen sharing has failed to start. So that's great.
I was going to say we need to have Aaron on for an hour sometime. And
Yeah,
him
probably.
explain all this stuff.
That's what I've been trying to learn to set up a Minecraft server.
Okay. Well, let me start by saying that with the server being a Java server, it's the old form of Minecraft. It's not the new one that is Minecraft Education Edition, or the kind that people use to join on their phones. We had asked Laura Briggs to speak a little bit about that because she has a Minecraft Realm that's accessible from like the mobile phone version, and she had some modifications set up on hers to honor the Mars rover, and so it's actually like a Mars world you can go visit on her server. And so that might be like another option, if the Java version is a bit geeky for your initial setup. One of the things about the Java version as well is that there have been all these different ways people have implemented it over a decade. And so if you start looking online for resources and help, you end up finding like forum posts from 2012 or 2011 that are kind of describing issues with Minecraft servers that are still kind of relevant today. So if you're using Java, you're kind of in that world a little bit. I want to try, I'm on two computers, so I want to just try moving my slides to the other computer. Yeah, so try that again. Okay, I see what I have to do. I'm sorry about this, guys. So I was going to talk really quick about like the initial setup of the server, and then like what kind of plugins and modifications I made to it in order to try and kind of enhance the community aspect of it. This could be a model for something you might do with students in a class, but in this case, where this was for international, for international teachers being able to use Minecraft pretty much any time of day, anytime around the world. It looks like I have to quit one of my instances of Zoom.
Okay.
But
But
the one where he was speaking, he's muted.
yes, Aaron is muted. Aaron, you are muted.
Yeah.
Okay, he's muted on the, okay.
He quit the one he was speaking on.
Okay, yeah.
It's Minecraft, the silent way.
Okay.
He's very good with Discord.
Yes. And I think during this.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Perfect.
Okay, great.
Yay.
So yeah, I believe I am sharing my screen now, so I should be able to hop into my slides. Yay. Okay, so again, just some quick background. I've been supporting the Minecraft MOOC, not since it began, but since 2015. And we've pretty much continuously been hosting one map for several years up until 2019. And then not long after the lockdown started, I started a new map and upgraded to a newer version of Minecraft. So suddenly we had a variety of new features and things that that we didn't have before. I was recruited by Jeff. And again, Jeff was originally the host of the server, and I kind of took over that from him, mainly because I wanted to play with a Linux computer that I had in my house. And so this was the computer that I'm currently using as the server. I was originally using a Mac Mini at Ohio University, and in order to avoid getting into trouble, I switched to this Intel NUC that I bought for under $300 in 2015. It's no longer available, but there are similar computers. It's a very small computer. I run it headless, so I don't have a monitor connected to it. It's just running. It runs on an SSD, so it runs super fast in the game. But then I have an external drive connected to it. Uh-oh, they're coming in. And so I'm gonna just, I know the other room is coming in and they're supposed to start right now. I'm gonna just fly through my slides really quick. So this is what my server looks like. Again, it's an inexpensive computer. These are the steps that you would do if you were setting up Minecraft in Java. If you're using Linux, of course, you can use Mac or Windows as well, but this is the process I used for Linux. This is an example of what the server properties file might look like, how you might change the parameters of the server, what's allowed. So you can kind of see there's some specific things that you can change here, and this gives the server an idea of what to run. This is an example of the start command. One thing you need to do is set up a command so it will actually start. I have mine set up so if you restart the computer, it'll run this command about 40 seconds after it starts up. So anytime there's any problem or anything like that, sometimes people contact me in Discord and say, hey, we need to restart. This command runs in the background when I restart the computer.
Aaron, we've just been given 15 more minutes by Heike. Did everyone see
We've been given 15 minutes? Awesome.
We've been, because she's so enthralled at what you're talking about, she wants to hear the rest of it.
Cool, very cool. So this is an example of some places where you can actually download maps online, and you can use these maps. Sometimes they're custom maps that people have created and shared. So these were links I actually showed during my presentation in 2016 on the same topic, but it was kind of some ideas of how people are using these maps. And then there's a variety of mods, and these are some examples of some mods I was playing with in 2016 in Forge. The TARDIS mod, where you can actually use the TARDIS as, if you're familiar with Doctor Who, you can use this police box as a kind of a teleporting machine that can take you anywhere on your map. Or in the background, you can also see Computercraft, which was a plugin that could be used in some forms of Minecraft for actually teaching programming inside of Minecraft. For our EVO server, again, I mentioned the Linux Mint that we used, and I was thinking that if I were to set it up again, if I were to start a new server, I would probably use Debian instead of Mint, just because Mint contains a lot of features that I wasn't using, and I'd like to keep the server kind of dedicated to one thing. As over time, there's been this evolution with Java Minecraft, where originally you would just get the server from Mojang and Minecraft, but then after a while, this kind of Bucket and Craft Bucket ecosystem came up, and this is where a lot of Java developers were creating their plugins, and so you'd have to get like Bucket in order to run these Bucket type plugins. Bye, Randall. And then over time that became Spigot, and Spigot is a website I still go to a lot to check on plugins and things. This is where a lot of the developers post their updates and things like that. Spigot is a little bit higher performance than Bucket was, but that of course led me down the rabbit hole to Paper, which is Spigot but optimized. And so again, I'm running it on an old computer. It has maxed out RAM, so I can't add any more. So Paper is a really efficient form of the software that allows it to continue running. So I recommend Paper if you're using kind of low-end computers for your server. Keep in mind, there's lots of like cloud hosting options and things open, and that's not the route that I'm taking in my hosting. You know, that might be something that fits better for other people. But you know, in my situation, I actually have a computer in my home that is hosting all this stuff. Talking about plugins, I have several listed here. You can see on the right a map that was generated of kind of our current home area. Where the little globe is right there, that's our spawn point, where we have kind of a safe area set aside for new players. I don't have it written here, but I'm using something called World Guard that kind of blocks off a certain area and says, okay, people can't get hurt in this area, or monsters can't come into this area. So we kind of have like a safe place that's set aside where people can build. And then around here, you can see there's like a pyramid that Dakota Redstone built. And I believe he also built this boat in the lake. And Laura Briggs built this kind of treehouse world. And then I built the executive fishing area over here. So, you know, each person kind of has their own space. And this is just a small part of the world that we're looking at. And so Paper runs on there really efficiently, and then it loads all these plugins. And so talking a little bit about the plugins, one plugin that's really important on our server is Essentials. Actually, what we're using is called Essentials X, and Essentials gives my players the ability to create homes that they can teleport to. So they have like a place on the map that's their home, and it also gives them the ability to set warps, and the warps are public. And so that gives them ability to kind of share their builds and share the areas that they've modified and created, and give other people a chance to go there. Here I'm just showing an example of how we have an area where there's a bunch of signs set up, and if you run up to these signs and if you right click on the sign, it automatically warps you to those places. And so this is just kind of an aspect of Essentials. Another plugin that we use, this one was requested specifically this year. It's called GSit. It does the simplest thing, but it does so much to improve the community of hanging out on the Minecraft server, you know, as a third space. Normally in the regular, we say vanilla version of the game, you can't sit down. you're always running around, you know, you're always mining, you're always fighting or whatever. Well, with GSIT, you have the ability to sit down wherever you want. So this was a couple of our players. I think it was Olive Tree and Dakota Redstone and myself. I'm the one in the diamond armor on the right there. Rose Bard took this picture of us just hanging out on the veranda one day. And actually, I have to say, during that day, I was very kind of stressed that day, as I often am. And when I logged into Minecraft and they invited me to come sit with them, I actually felt like kind of a release. Like when I just sat down at the table with them, it's like, oh, you know, I'm relaxing kind of in this third space. So GSIT's really cool. Another feature of GSIT, I don't have a picture of it here, is you can actually hop on people's shoulders and run around as well. And that's kind of fun too. Another thing that we do to build community is Discord. We have a Discord server. It's been running multiple years. I was initially very bad at using Discord. I've gotten a lot better at it this year. But it's a great cross-platform video, text, voice, chat application. Jeff mentioned it earlier in his talk. Discord is great, you know, for connecting with people in the server that are on the server. But also another thing that's great is Discord SRV is a plugin that I installed on the server that allows you to link the Minecraft server and the Discord server. So people who are not logged into Minecraft can still join the chat and they can observe what people are talking about on the server. We have voice chat channels on there, but we also have text chat channels, and we have kind of a server chat channel where you can see who's logged in and things like that. And so that's kind of a fun aspect of it. Also, one thing that I found that I was able to do with this is connect a console channel, like a separate channel, where all of the messages coming from the server itself appear in a chat channel. And I can go into that chat channel as an admin, and I can manage the server from Discord, which means I can manage it from my phone if I need to, which is actually great. DynMap is the other one that probably takes up the most resources and time of the server. DynMap is a Google Maps-like tool that creates a web-based map of your server that people can check on offline. And so I have a link here that goes to the live map so you can see the server. But these are just like some examples on the screen of what we did. I have different views available. So you can see the one on the left might look familiar to you because Vance had it in his slides, but he had it from another angle. This is like the satellite view of the same village that we created in 2018. And then on the right, you can see we had some users that used some coding and a tool called Scriptcraft to actually put floating words in the sky. And the floating words in the sky then became labels on the map. And so that was kind of another creative use of that. And then down in the bottom right, you can see where my brother got on our server and did a little bit of copyright infringement and that you can see from the sky. Also, speaking of my brother, Ari I invited him on during lockdown. I thought he was going to be bringing his 6-year-old son on, but actually it turned out it was my brother himself that wanted to play, and he built a lot of cool things on the server that that then were kind of good inspirations for some of the teachers and other people that were playing on it. He had kind of a little Wild West village that he had built. And yeah, and you can see on the picture there, you can see like when you go on DynMap, if somebody's playing, you can see where they are and you can go visit them in the game, or you can chat with them through the web. Another tool that I had was Lucky Perms. This was a way of actually managing different roles and different permissions. If you're setting up a server, maybe you're going to have teachers and students on the same server, and maybe teachers and students need different roles, different permissions. Just like you would in like a course management system like Moodle, you might need to do something similar if you're managing large groups of people. Lucky Perms is really cool because I can type in a command in the console. So I type in LP editor, as you see on the top there, and then it gives me a unique URL. And then I can go to that URL, and that's what you see on the bottom here. It gives me a way to edit the permissions and group membership and things like that of various players in my web browser, but it's not on the internet. It looks like it's on the internet, but it's actually just running in my web browser on my computer. And then once you save it, it gives you another link to apply the changes, and you go back to the server and apply that link. So that's one way that you can kind of manage. Like, for example, we had a group called builders and a group called admin, and you know, you could have a group called VIP, but you could make it anything you want. You know, you could have a group that's like gold level and a group that's iron level, or a group that's diamond level, however you want to do it. It's very, very customizable. This is my last slide. I know we're about out of time. I wanted to draw people's attention to this Instructables link for the OR server. This is something that I followed some of this person posted instructions here, and they posted really good instructions for running a Minecraft server on a very low resource computer, and then building that into a lamp that changes colors based on the number of people on the server. Now, I did try to replicate it. I can't show it to you here, but like if you have like a Raspberry Pi computer, you know, this is like a $30 computer. It's in a 3D printed case. This could be a Minecraft server if you have it kind of tweaked to handle those low levels, and then you can build kind of you could follow his instructions. His instructions are actually very similar to mine, and only with like the follow-up of having the lamp. I found that with a couple changes to his instructions, I was able to set up a separate Raspberry Pi that didn't host the server, but could still do the lamp. The lamp could check the server and tell me if people were on. And it's just my my poor soldering ability that it's not working today. Yeah, those are the links I wanted to share. And if anyone's interested in setting up Java servers and looking for advice, you know, feel free to contact me. I'm a good resource for that type of thing. And that's all I have.
Thank you so much, Aaron. I'm so glad we're having this virtual worlds for ELT panel. And these are, I mean, I wish we had more time. All of the panelists has wonderful information. Thanks, Jeff, for showing us esports. And we've learned that right now it's an experience age, and we should experience the go into the gaming and, you know, experience along with everybody else, and not just be here in a Zoom meeting. Perhaps next time if we could host our meetings in a virtual world, that would be fantastic, right? Thank you, Vance.